Okay, where were we again?
December.
Like,
December. You said things that typically start in
okay.
December, January, and then you drop.
Yeah.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to That's a Good Question, 676 episode of the Pokemon Podcast. It's super effective. I'm your host, Steve. With me is Bobby.
Hello. 84 Regieleki is how many it took for me to get a shiny one. That's way too many Regieleki.
I'm sure Scopely is very happy with their purchase.
Yeah, better be.
I'm sure you made them very happy. We got a special guest today. First time on the show, Mr. Joe UX9 is here.
Hey, how's it going? How you guys doing? Thank you for having me on. Excited to be here. You know, it'd be pretty fun to actually. It's funny because like obviously I've been on like other like VGC podcasts or whatever, but this is like the first time I think I've been on like a non like full focus VGC podcast. So it's pretty cool. So.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Well, since you're here, we have it to be focused a little bit more on VGC because we want your input. Yeah. But yeah, here's the plan for the show. Joe is going to be future world champion. If not this year, maybe next year, but probably this year, right?
We're hoping so, right? I mean, I wouldn't oppose. You know, that'd be great. I'd be very okay with that.
So our plan for today's show is there's a brand new rule set for the 2026 championship series that went out. There was, I would say, a lot of not drama. The people had a lot of opinions when they changed it from 2024 to 2025. And now that year, we have one more tournament left, which is Worlds. So in doing so, in announcing the 2026 rule set, they also teased Mega Pokemon in their little trailer. So after we talk about the rules, we're going to talk about that, which would also lead into just like Joe's thoughts on Pokemon Champions, since that's not out yet, and that's probably going to impact competitive in some way. And then after that, we have a little bit of TCG stuff, because Megas are coming to TCG. Crazy, I know. And then I was on a Pokemon game show. We'll just spend a couple minutes on that. We'll talk about the hundreds of dollars that Bobby and I think a couple dollars that Joe spent for Pokemon Go. And then for our bonus segment, just like Joe's competitive career and what that might look like afterwards. So that's our whole show for you guys today. Let's start off with the Championship Series 2026. This was just announced a couple days ago, so pretty fresh. It's saying that this is off Pokemon.com. Pokemon TCG, Pokemon Go, VGC will the league stuff will start on September 1st, and then they're making adjustments to Swiss. After analyzing the data from 2025 season and taking trainer feedback into consideration, the Swiss format used for Pokemon TCG and video game championships at regionals, special championships, international champions, and world championships will undergo a variety of changes. All age divisions at these tournaments, if they have at least 65 people, will have one additional round of Swiss pairing. This additional round will make it more likely that trainers with a record of X2 or better, such as 9 wins, 0 losses, 8 wins, 1 loss, or 7 wins, 2 losses, will reach an asymmetrical top 8. This additional Swiss round will improve the tournament experience for competitors and top cut placements and cash prizes in the final matches of Swiss Phase 2. That sounds very complicated for somebody who's maybe never been to a tournament. Is this a good or bad change, Joe?
So basically, to break it down, like what it looks like, right? So when you're playing through a Pokemon tournament, right, you're obviously playing the rounds of Swiss, right? You're going to be competing, you know, every round basically is going to have, you know, a different record. Like if you go 3-0, right, you're going to be paired versus a person that's 3-0 and so on, right? Well, basically what this is doing is for your threshold to make top cut, usually you had to have the record matching the like lowest record in top cut, like top 8 basically. So for example, let's say that you had someone in top 8 that was an X and 2 record. It's usually an X and 2 record, right? So you have like 2 losses minimum. Someone would make it in. Now, where it would get a little like, I guess, tricky is that like you'd have like an asymmetrical cut of like 22, 23, 24 people. So some people would have to play a win in for money, basically, right? Because top 16 was where the big like money threshold is at like regionals specifically. So you would get into Top Cut, but you actually wouldn't be guaranteed prizing. So you'd have to then play another round for prizing. What the extra Swiss round does is it basically eliminates that like quote unquote like winning in. I mean, technically you're still playing a winning in because you're playing an extra round. But basically, if you get the record that you need, it only goes up to top 16. You'll get the money basically, or the prizing. And then there's like a weird situation. It's kind of funny because it's like it should fix the problems, but there's actually a weird situation. If there's actually too big of a tournament, someone can have an X-2 record and like actually miscut. So like that's kind of what the last year's system was meant to avoid, but they like it's like kind of reintroduced now, but it's like much lower odds of it happening unless it's a giant tournament. But it's like it's kind of like you brought the old issue back, but you also fixed the new one. So it's like kind of weird. I don't know. It's like a weird middle ground area.
In effort to smooth out tournament proceedings, an asymmetrical top 8 will now be capped at 16. That's what you just explained, compared to 32 in the last one. So you're saying too, like a bunch of people would make top 32, but then the real money is top 16.
Yeah, exactly. Because like basically, if you let's say you made cut, right? Like you're I don't know, you're Jimmy Bob the Third, right? And you're like, oh, I'm so happy I made top cut. Like, and now you're playing at 9-2, like an asymmetrical round, and like I don't know, you just like lose, right? You just lose immediately. Like you don't get money, or like you get like way less prizing if anything. Like it's usually you don't get money. I'm pretty sure. So. It's kind of like better, I guess, if you like cut, because now you know that you're like guaranteed to get money, but also it's like at the same time, like if it's a huge tournament and then you're the guy at 17th that like whiffs top 16, it also probably isn't like the best either, but it's like it's very unlikely to happen at least. So
for TCG, when time is called, competitors had a +3 turns to conclude their active game. If the game did not resolve in those turns, the game was declared a draw and the match would conclude. For example, if one competitor was ahead 1-0 and they were awarded a match win, but then if the game scored 1-1 or 0-0, the match was a tie. This end round procedure creates complication situations for event operations, since +3 turn phase of a match technically has no time limit. It's been observed that competitors play differently during overtime and stretch out their turns, making the round turn order unpredictable and significantly extending round times. We've concluded that overtime procedure is not achieving its intended goal, with a significant percentage of matches still resulting in a draw after +3 turns. To mitigate these unintended complications, we are implementing the following rule. After time is called in a round, competitors will have an additional full turn +1 turn to complete their match. The active competitor will complete their turn. Their opponent will then complete their turn. If no winner is determined by that point, then the game is a draw. An overtime clock of 10 minutes will be added. If a player does not conclude within the allotted time, the game is a draw. The overclock time is internally logged compared to the average length, and we hope that this clause will trigger only in extreme situations where slow play penalties may already be considered. I don't know how much TCG stuff you know, Joe, but I can explain this.
Yeah, I mean, like I know enough, but like if you know better, definitely you.
Well, this is not a problem in VGC, right? Because you have the in-game time. Well, slow play does kind of happen in VGC.
Yeah, but it's like I think the difference is in TCG, right? Like obviously it's like human, like so basically I guess it's like less intended, right? With like VGC, I think it's intended for you to be able to run down the clock, right? Because it's like kind of a like you can win on timer in like a not like I guess in an intended way, right? Like for example, time expires, right? Your Pokemon has like you have the same amount of Pokemon, but yours has like way more health out of the health pool. You win, right? So
yeah,
I think like you can directly play to those win conditions because it's like built into the game, right? But like if they didn't like it, they could just change the timer system or like change whatever, and it wouldn't like be a problem anyways. So like for them, I think it's like slightly different for sure.
Yeah. I didn't like I played a lot of TCG, competitive TCG at one point, and so like this rule always made sense to me. But when I was streaming NAIC, so many people in my chat were just confused at like they called time. What does that mean? What is 0, 1, 2, 3? And this is true. This is like it's actually kind of crazy how blunt Pokemon was with this rule change. It is 100% true that like people will play differently when the time limit is removed. because like they have a different win condition at that point, and you have to play differently when you know that you're either turn 0 or you're turn 1. So ultimately, they're adding 10 minutes to prevent people from just slow playing and playing differently, because unlike a VGC match, which is 15 minutes. And then you have cap at 15 minutes, but then you have
it's
Swiss
cap at 20 with timer. Because it's 20-minute match timer, and then you have your time, which can expire as well if you're not fast enough. So.
I think a TCG match is 85 minutes, or maybe it might be 75 before you make it to because they have to do 3 games.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Still,
and usually the first if it's like a good game where like both players are not getting bricked, like a game will last like 30 minutes, 35.
Yeah, true.
So it's really hard to fit 3 full games in. Ultimately, what they're doing is they're preventing people from like slow playing when time is drawn or called, and they're adding 10 minutes. So I don't know if you watched NISC, you saw this happen during was it the Masters or was it the Seniors, where time was called, and then both players started playing completely differently to how they played the first like 75 minutes, and it's like really weird. It's kind of jarring to see of like, oh, they were playing this way and now they're completely playing a different way. So they are adjusting the point table, which I think this was the big from 2024 to 2025. I think points was like the thing that people were complaining about, like how to earn points, and it made it seem like, I feel like I remember the discourse being, now we have to travel more to more tournaments and spend more money on hotels and flights, and this is becoming like, I don't know, like not pay to win, but it's kind of always been that way, right? Like you traveling to events has always been a cost. They're saying slight tweaks have been made to championship points and kickers for grand challenges, global challenges, league challenges, regional, special, and internationals. I don't know if I know what a kicker is. Grand challenge.
It's the amount of players to like hit something. So like, for example, a kicker of 512 to get like top 256, for example, would be like you need 512 players to be able to get that like points awarded to those people.
Oh, okay. So if you have 510, you've missed the mark.
Yes. You would miss the kicker. Yeah.
Got it.
Grand challenges and global challenges now provide separate rewards per rating zone to promote more opportunities to earn championship points in a similar rating zone. League challenge kickers have now been adjusted to reflect average attendance. More championship points will be allocated to 9th through 64th place at championship events. I think all of this is good, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like most of the changes, the big one that is like the big, I guess, quote unquote, like controversial one is just like people talk about the invite system the most, but like, I mean, honestly, like I think their new system that they implemented last year, like they haven't made like too many crazy changes going into this year besides like, some of the kickers, stuff like that changing. It's been mostly good, I'd say. Actually, I think the changes last year were really positive. I think like they're just trying to refine it even more like this year, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
obviously not everything's gonna be perfect, but it feels like it's been more or less like pretty good. Yeah.
Pokemon Go will now have more opportunities for travel stipends. The number of travel awards will be doubled from 4 to 8. And then some people qualifying can earn up to $1,000 in travel stipends. Ace Trainer rewards that was previously announced will return. The eligibility remains the same. TCG, video game, Go. Competitors who earn 200 championship points and Pokemon Unite competitors on top placing teams will earn the distinction of Ace Trainer. What does that mean for people? Are you an Ace Trainer, Joe?
I mean, yeah. So basically, okay. So this is the concept of this like Ace Trainer thing, right? It's like if you have a certain amount of like points or whatever, you get like this reward, right? The thing is like okay. So I don't want to say like it doesn't matter because okay. So for VGC, like
drama,
like I appreciate that obviously you're going out of your way to like reward someone for going to a bunch of events, right? The concept of that is really cool. But the rewards they give to like VGC players are so silly. It's like I think it's like a TCG card or like something like that. It's like something we would never use in like our day-to-day ever, right? Like what if it was like, I don't know. a special shiny Pikachu, or like, 'cause, like, even that, you know what I mean? Like, we could redeem a code for in game or something. Like, it's just like, give us like, I don't know, some kind of like cool like event Pokemon, something like that. You know what I mean? Like, if it's just like a card or something, or like some stickers, I'm like, oh, come on, man. Like, just give me something, like, give me a little bit more, like just one in-game event, like something, a crumb, please. You know what I mean? Like anything.
So you just have to get what 200? What does it say? 200 championship points, and then you're considered an ace trainer. Do they like email you and like welcome to the program?
Yeah. So to my understanding, it's like you have a certain like point threshold, you hit it, and then it's like, oh, congratulations, you're like an ace trainer. Like you get this reward, right? Like it's kind of just like that, you know. It's just you hit a threshold, you like get something. I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, because I remember people talking about it actually.
Got it. Well, it's coming back.
Yeah.
The Unite Championship Series is no longer operated on championship points. It is instead exclusively invite teams throughout the 3 primary methods, finishing in top 2 of a Unite Regionals, winning an AOS Cup in EUIC Asia or the final stretch of NAIC, or winning a Pokemon Unite Open Last Chance qualifier. They did announce the regional championships and special championships schedule. They also announced the international championships dates and locations. And that was like kind of all the big events. The first regionals after Worlds is going to be in Frankfurt, Germany in September. And then there will be one in Monterrey also in September. We're not going to go through all of them, but those are the 2 big tournaments that will happen as soon as Worlds is over, which is only a month after Worlds. So guessing, because there will be no new game currently, that would just be Scarlet and Violet still. Yeah,
it should definitely be Scarlet and Violet. Can I quickly? I know you said you didn't want to go over all of them. We have a Las Vegas regionals. We have a Las Vegas regionals. That is. I'm
excited for that.
In my opinion, one of the coolest. Well, it's also dangerous, but one of the coolest locations you could have for like a regional. But yeah, it's dangerous because, you know, if I'm like walking into, you know, like I win the regional, you know, I'm like, oh, I'm having a great day. I walk into the Luxor or like something else, you know, I'm like, all right, let's have a good time. And then, you know, I leave even from Las Vegas, you know. That's like the only way you could get a little dangerous.
You could take your Ace Trainer championship card and put it on the poker table.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm excited for the Las Vegas one. I haven't been to regionals, but I'm going to that one.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, you have to, right? Like, how could you miss Las Vegas regionals? That's like I hope they bring it back again, but I could absolutely just seeing it being like a one-off or like once every couple of years thing. Absolutely have to go to that. I think it's so funny.
Yeah, for sure.
Gosh, I know. We all know that like the majority of Pokemon players at these events are like adults, like 18 plus. Like Masters is so much bigger than like quadruple the size of juniors and seniors combined. The amount of Master players that show up. But as a parent, not a great Las Vegas, not a great city for kids.
I went to Las Vegas all the time as a kid. I turned out fine.
Like shows, right? They have like shows.
Yeah.
They
have shows. They have arcades. I spent a lot of time in the arcades.
Overpriced food on the strip. You know, like it's pretty good. Like
you get to eat some good stuff.
You get the cake vending machine.
Yeah. Cake vending machine.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like obviously, like I mean, I wouldn't like take my kids strolling through Las Vegas at night on like a Friday night, but like, you know, like
sure,
it's still like a, you know, it's still like I think during the day there's like stuff for kids to do for sure, and like for the most part I think it's like fine because like I mean I'm sure like every like parent's just gonna be like, okay, we're just gonna take our kid to the tournament, and then go back to the hotel and like hang out, and then maybe like, you know, one of the parents will be like, I want to run to the casino for a little bit, you know what I mean, something like that.
Well, as somebody like me, I don't like to gamble. I have no interest in it. Like I still had a pretty good time in Vegas. Like there is a lot to do. But like you will walk through a casino. It's just like how to get to places is like, I got to go through this casino to get to like the show I want to go to.
I don't know, Steve. You don't like to gamble, but doing those Regieleki raids.
I was helping you. Itself, we'll get to it. I was spending money to help you. There's going to be a tournament in Netherlands, Peru, Spain, Chile, UK, 2 in UK, maybe 3 in UK. New Zealand's getting a tournament. I don't know if they've had a tournament before. Joe, you going to the New Zealand tournament?
New Zealand. No, I've never heard of a New Zealand having one, at least for a while. So that's kind of cool because usually it's the 3 Australian cities that usually. Well, I know New Zealand's separate, obviously, but they're close, right? They're neighbors.
Yeah, right.
But basically in Australia, it's usually Perth. I'm pretty sure, Melbourne, and sometimes Sydney, or like and one more city thrown in there. I'm forgetting the name of
Brisbane,
right now.
maybe?
Brisbane.
Yeah, Brisbane. Yeah, it's Brisbane.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like those 4 cities on rotation. So this is the first time I've seen in a bit that they have it in New Zealand, at least from my knowledge, right? So,
So
that's cool.
Before we jump to a break, let's say somebody wants to participate in the 2026 circuit. How many of these events do you realistically think they have to go to?
Okay, so I mean, I don't know if this is a cop-out answer because I don't think it really is. I'd say it depends on, like, let's say you're trying to qualify, right? Like, I would definitely depend on how good you are, right? Like, I think some players who, like, let's say you're average, right? Baseline competitive player, you play.
Let's say you can
like,
get to master rank every season.
Yeah, sure, right? And like you practice like enough where like maybe you're practicing like an hour a day, like whatever, right? Like I would say if you're trying to qualify for Worlds, they did increase the like qualification range a little bit more. It's probably looking at like you need to at least go to like 8, 9 plus locals. Like honestly, like if you're trying to like an 8, 9 meaning like any sort of major event, like not necessarily just regionals, because like obviously like it's a lot. And you could even cut that down. Like I know people who have only gone to like 5 or 6 and been able to qualify. But what's really important in the system really is the extra events. I know a lot of people who like went to 5 like regionals or like 5, 1 international, 4 regionals that like did really decent at all of them, but like wasn't like didn't make it over someone else because like the global challenges that are online on the Switch, right? Or they like the other person went to all their locals, filled out their local BFLs. Like when you look at the points that locals give you, you see like 50 points, like 30 points. It's like not that much, right? But it like actually really adds up on the leaderboards towards the end of the year. Because let's say, someone has like 700, right? And then the other person who's like only gone to majors has 950. Well, you can bridge that gap with 280 points from all local, right? Or if you have a like one better GC, right? You can immediately like bridge that gap. So it's actually, I think it's either you go to more majors, right? And make sure you perform well, like you get like high placements, or you compensate enough with like the locals plus like the online tournaments. And then you have like probably like 5 or maybe you could get away with, right? Usually you want 5 because 5 is at least like filling out all your BFLs if you do decent at every single one, right?
5 still seems like a lot.
Yeah.
To some extent, like
yeah, it's interesting because I feel like with this Worlds Invite stuff, I think it's always an interesting debate because when there was a championship point total, right? Worlds obviously had a lot more people competing, right? And like it for me, obviously, like I'm in a position where like for me it's easier to get an invite because like I can do well at like tournaments, right? Like I'm not concerned about qualifying. I think where it gets interesting is like what do you view Worlds as, right? Like if you view it as a celebration of Pokemon and you want it to be inclusive to like more people who want to play it, then absolutely, right? Like a championship point bar is better for that, right? But if you're viewing Worlds as like no, we want like the best of the best competitors playing at Worlds and showcasing like the best of best Pokemon, then I think like making it like a hard cutoff with like placements makes sense because that's like the goal, right? And like I think it just depends on how you view Worlds and like what it is, but like yeah, definitely I'd say it requires a bunch of events if you're like performing average across the board. Now if you're like a really high performing, like I think by December I had like 1,200 or something. Like I was way over the bar that like I needed by that point. But like it just depends, on like obviously your skill level and how well you do for sure.
Cool. All right. Well, with that, we will take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about Pokemon Champions because that was kind of and Mega Evolution. Maybe those are related. They were shown in this trailer of like announcing all the ICs and stuff. So we'll take a quick break, and then we'll talk about both those topics when we come back. And we are back from our break. All right, before I hit Joe with a million questions, the first question would be, how excited are you for Pokemon Champions? Like when this was announced, were you like, this is what I wanted, or like, ah?
I would say like crazy potential, right? So, offhand, right? Like the idea of having a battling like a way to battle basically where you can connect through Switch and phone is perfect. That's like exactly like what I think the community needs to like continue to grow and become more accessible and like get more people into it, right? Like someone is much more likely to play competitive Pokemon if they can like load up an app on their phone, just get on and like play some games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yep.
where I see some potential like problems, right? It depends on like how much they lean into this everyone can play kind of aspect, right? So, for example, what I mean by that, right, is let's say you get on Pokemon Champion, right, and you want to play like a game or whatever, right? Like, do you have a daily limit of games you can play? Do you have like how do you get Pokemon, right? Like, do you just like do you need to like have rental codes? Like, can you just like put anything you want in the game? Like, do you need it from other games? Like, I think all those factors matter a lot, but in concept, having the idea of a battling like game where you can do it off a phone and Switch is super cool.
Do you okay? Here's what Bobby and I debated about. Bobby, or wait, hold on, maybe that was Hannah. I don't remember where Bobby fell on this. Bobby, you have to remind me. I think that Champions is like a holdover until Gen 10. Like, I don't think it like once Gen 10 comes out, they'll be like, all right, Champions is dead. Like, let's move on. But I do think it's like a holdover because there was no game last year, or like this is the last of VGC because it's double restricted. Mm-hmm. We don't have anything and usually a Pokemon game's every 3 years. So I'm under the impression once Gen 10 comes out, the VGC scene will move back to Gen 10. Mm-hmm. And Champions is going to probably be the main stage for next year for Worlds.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, I think what's interesting about it too is like what's the angle of what they're going with Pokemon Champions, because they show that they had every mechanic, right? But like we actually don't really, or like, well, quote unquote every mechanic, like obviously Terra and Mega, right? But
yeah.
So one would assume maybe it's the other two, but we don't know for sure. I guess where the question really comes is like, again, if it's intended as a holdover thing, like once we hit Gen 10, of course, right? I think like that's a big thing. I think there is a lot of potential if it's like, oh, this is where we want to like have competitive, right? And we can now do any rule set we want, right? So 1 year it could be like all megas and like whatever, right? Or it can be like, Terra and Dynamax only, right? Or like something like that, right? Like that could be potentially cool, but I definitely I could also see it being honestly like kind of similar to like a Pocket, right? Like Pocket in general, like it's like kind of like mini TCG. I could see it kind of being like mini VGC, you know what I mean? Like kind of like a intro people into the game, get them like interested in it, but it's not like the same as like the regular game, you know what I mean? Like it's a little bit like less complex, I guess. And I don't know what that would look like, but I could definitely see it being that angle.
So the way I think about it is kind of the same thing as like, it's not the same, but kind of the same idea as like, Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, in that it took players that were like used to one way of playing the game, aka Pokemon Go, and then like was a way to potentially introduce them into main series games. I feel like this is kind of the same. It's like a VG type game that would like potentially introduce people into wanting to play competitive like in Gen 10 or later. So then it would stick around and be kind of like that first stepping stone into... Is there a person in your house, Steve? Or is that a cat?
That was my cat leaving.
Okay. It'd be like that stepping stone. Yeah, right?
He was like, I'm sick of this VGC conversation. I'm out of here.
Yeah. Oh, he left?
Yeah, he left.
He opened the door from inside the room?
Yeah, it was cracked.
Nice. Yeah, no, I don't think it's going to be like Champions going forward. Like, I do think once Gen 10 comes out, I think it will be Gen 10 that is what's used for competitive, but that Champions will stay as kind of a stepping stone between not having played to going main series.
Yeah.
Well, Joe,
I could
Joe,
definitely
you're
see
one of
that.
you're one of the VGC players that do. This makes it sound like I'm like criticizing all VGC players. There are some VGC players who just buy like Scarlet and Violet. They don't customize their trainer. They make it to the first Pokemon Center, and then people will trade them through however means necessary to get those Pokemon to like do their battles, right? And then they do their battles, and they've never. But like you'll play through the game.
Yeah.
Like you were doing tarot raids and stuff. Like I just don't imagine like. I'm sure there are some VGC players that are like, I don't want story, I don't want shiny hunting, I don't want Pokedex, I just want a battle. Those people definitely exist.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, like for sure. I mean, Marco Silva, right? Obviously he ended up winning LASE, got second at NASE. He's like a super big competitor, and I talked to him, and I was just like talking to him, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm playing through the game or like whatever, like just like what. He's like, why would you do that? And I'm like, I don't know, like I enjoy. He's like, yeah, I just like don't like Pokemon besides like battling. Like that's literally it. I was just like, oh, okay, like it's really funny.
Wow.
It's weird because those
funny,
players are
yeah.
like, those players are criticized, but there are definitely some on the other shoe. There's like, I just like shiny hunting. I don't like the story. I don't like the battle. Like I just want a shiny hunt.
Yeah.
And like that's like a valid way to play.
That's
Yeah.
what's so great about Pokemon is there are so many different ways to play. You don't have to do everything, which is nice.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? Because like I definitely think there's like extremes of it too. You know what I mean? Of like, oh, like I only play battle, like what you said, right? Just run to the Pokemon Center, get traded everything, right? Or like, oh, I only want a shiny hunter, like whatever. To be honest, like I think that's kind of cool that Pokemon can be like that, though. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you can do whatever you want, basically. Like kind of what Bobby was saying. But like I also think too. It's like really funny because I actually think Scarlet and Violet are like, in my opinion, this might be controversial. I think like aside from the performance issues when it first came out, right, and like it had obviously like it was like struggling a little bit on the hardware it had. Like I think if it had come out right in the form of like it is on the Switch too, with like the graphics, like everything, everyone would have called it like one of the top 3 best Pokemon games of all time, like hands down.
100%.
I think it's an amazing game. I think honestly, like I can even put the graphics part aside. Like even a couple of years ago, I was telling my friends, I'm like, look, I know sometimes you're like running on the lake, it's like chugging along a little bit, but I promise you, this is like peak Pokemon game, And then I think the DLC obviously added a lot of like content too, and like accessibility for competitive. It's like, in my opinion, one of the best like well-rounded like Pokemon experiences, by far.
Agreed. That is not a controversial statement on this podcast.
Yeah, like, no.
Very much agreement of that.
You know what is controversial? Mega Pokemon in competitive. And when they announced the ICs, they announced EUIC, LAIC, what's the other one? The NAIC. They showed Mega Venusaur, Mega Charizard, Mega Blastoise in the little trailer. And I think they even said like something Mega is coming, or there was like a pun or something at one point in the trailer.
Yeah.
Do you want Megas to come back, Joe? Was that like a mechanic you enjoyed?
Yeah, so I'd say, okay, so it's interesting because I get asked these kind of questions a lot, right? Like with whatever format, It's like, what do you think about this format, right? And so I'm of the opinion, right? There are a lot of different kind of competitive players. There are some who are like, oh, I hate this format. I like this format. Like this mechanic is bad. This mechanic is not. Basically, unless Pokemon hands me like one of the most egregious, like worst formats ever, like something that's like basically unplayable, I will happily play whatever I'm given. Like I like change. I actually really like change. Like Dynamax, like there were so many competitive players being like, oh, this fundamentally like breaks the game. You can't play like VGC the same way it was intended to be played. I'm like, yeah, because the mechanic was made that way. I'm like, that's the whole point. Like, that's like the entire point of the mechanic, So like, I'm usually pretty open to it. Like, to be honest, like, I started playing actually, like a lot in Gen 7, right? Which is Sun and Moon, right? Megas were like obviously pretty big in 2018 and 2019, and I enjoyed it a lot, honestly. Like, I genuinely like, I like Megas a lot. I think where people have issues with Megas is just like, the game can sometimes become centralized around like the best Megas. So like offhand, when I'm thinking about like the best Megas in like 2019, right, which was restricted format to be fair, it was like Mega Salamence, Mega Gengar, Mega Kangaskhan, and then I'm forgetting a really important Mega right now, and I know
Gyarados?
I am. No, not Gyarados.
Gyarados made it pretty far.
Yeah, Gyarados. Yeah. Okay, in 2014, absolutely, 100%. But after it was on Fraud Watch a little bit. But
Okay.
yeah. Okay, I'm trying to wait. Yeah. If I don't remember, I don't remember. But Kangaskhan, Salamence. Metagross was big in 2018. But yeah, Kangaskhan, Salamence, and Gengar were like huge for sure. Like they were just big. And Mega Rayquaza as well was just huge as well, right? So I think it's interesting because yes, the game becomes centralized around like, quote unquote, like the best megas, but in like regional dex formats, the like other megas aren't unusable, right? Stuff like Charizard X, Charizard Y, like those kind of things start, being used. So it's not bad. Like I think also too with them adding new megas, I'm hoping that like it's gonna be something that will like also shift it a little bit. Like maybe there'll be like another really great mega that like gets used, right? Well, I'm assuming in ZA, right? They're gonna be adding new megas. That's my assumption.
Yeah.
So and that should carry over to Champions. I don't see why it wouldn't, right? So I feel like that could definitely like change some stuff around, but it'd be pretty cool for sure. So,
Do you think that somebody's going to show up in Las Vegas with their Legends ZA game and battle, or do you think that's going to be in Champions?
So in the previous life cycles of games, right? Like usually, for example, when Sun and Moon changed to Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, right? You'd play the previous game, right, up until like December, and then it would switch over in January, right? So my assumption would be with Champions, what they would do is they would have it so you're playing on Scarlet and Violet until you hit January, and then you switch to Champions, right? And also, too, another thing that I think is going to be interesting is, because this is something that I don't think like many people talk about, like, what does it actually look like at tournaments? Are you allowed to use your phone at tournaments to play Champions? Like, I don't think they're going to let you use your phones. I think what they're going to do is they're going to require everyone to have it on a Switch and play on a Switch, probably.
Yeah.
It would be my assumption for Champions.
Or could they have mobile phones set up and then everybody just uses rental codes or something to like get their Pokemon into those phones maybe? Or a Switch, or Switch is set up to do the same thing?
I feel like the only thing that I could see it from like a, I guess like quote on like business standpoint too, right? Like already like I have delved into Pokemon Go. When the like VGC season was on a break, I decided to play in Baltimore Pokemon Go. And I will tell you, I would much rather like run a mile before having to play every regional than have to use a cell phone to play like a battle. I feel like I feel like it would literally like not be a good experience. Like I don't know. Like I remember I spent more time when I was playing Pokemon, and they fixed it obviously, or it was a specific event thing or whatever. Because I remember talking to people about it. But like I spent more time trying to figure out connection issues between cell phones and like logging into accounts and stuff. Like think about that. You'd have to log into an account or like use a rental. You'd have to connect to each other, like all with phones. It sounds like a nightmare. I could not imagine. I would much rather have my Switch, have my game, sit down, plug it into a dock with LAN connection, immediately like be able to like play. Right? I feel like that would be like so much easier. And like for the sake of like my sanity and probably lots of other players' sanity, I really hope they make it like Switch. But like, I think it's different. So like I think, for example, if it's in tournament, it should be on Switch, like required. If it's online, then you could use your phone, whatever, right? It doesn't matter.
Sure. Do you think, I feel like this would be a small percentage of people, but do you think that there would be people who never have a Switch, who don't have a Switch, but are like really going all in on Champions, and then it's like they get to that they get to like an in-person tournament and they don't have a Switch to actually play the game on,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible, right? I mean, it's a good question, right? I mean, it's tough because in a perfect world, right? Like obviously everyone would be able to have access to a Switch, right? They'd be able to play, right? Like, and I definitely think that's like a big thing. I also like am kind of like, I mean, again, that's a situation where, for example, like the phones thing would like alleviate that issue, right? My only thing is like, for example, right, you travel to a tournament, right? Like it's a big investment, right? It is a big like financial investment a lot of the time, right? So obviously not every single person has the disposable income to like get a Switch and go to like every tournament, right? Like of course not, right? But like at some point too, do you prioritize like the inclusion or do you prioritize the smooth running of an event? Because also if they have phones and Switches, right? And they hit a whole bunch of connection bugs that haven't been tested or used, right? It's going to slow down the pace of the entire tournament. You could end up like a situation in LA 2024. I don't know if you guys know about that event. So in LA 2024, their entire internet just went down in the building. So for like 3 hours, we couldn't play Pokemon. Like no one could play a game, basically. Only like 15 people had finished their rounds. So basically, it's just like everyone outside the convention center, like food trucks chilling around or whatever, until the judges were like, okay, we fixed it. And it became such an issue, they had to move Swiss rounds. This was before we had day 2 Swiss, by the way. So we got to play day 2 Swiss before it was even a thing because of the technical issues. They only gave us 5 rounds that day. We're like, okay, you're gonna play the other 2 tomorrow because it's just too late, basically.
That's
right.
crazy.
So we basically got like pseudo day 2 before we even actually had a day 2 system, which was really funny.
Crazy.
So or like the new day 2, so whatever it is.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
I mean? Like or like different system, I guess. But yeah.
Wow.
So.
That's wild.
Is there yeah, I've said this before, but for maybe people who are new listeners because Joe is here, welcome. I just see Champions as like we want to get more people into VGC, but we also just want to sell more copies of Gen 10. So I know there was a handful of people who still believe like they're ripping competitive out of Pokemon games so they can take their time with Pokemon games, but I don't know why anyone would want to pay $60 to have, or $70, I guess now, if we're assuming that Gen 10 would be $70. I don't know why anyone would want to spend $70 and be like, hey, this big part of the game has been ripped out, and now I have to go somewhere else for it. Not to mention like those hardcore Pokemon fans or hardcore VGC players we were talking about. Like, I guess that would be a benefit for them. They don't have to spend $70. They can just go over to Champions.
Yeah, but you'd still have to get Pokemon that are in Gen 10 into Champions somehow, and since they do have a home connection, you'd assume
that could be the caveat.
You need to get the main series in some way, or trade
pay
it,
to win. Okay, let's talk about how Urshifu is pay to win. All right, spend 20 minutes on that.
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, like it's funny because and actually get to that point, right? It is kind of crazy, right? Because like there are some Pokemon that are just like so hard to access, right? So I'm curious how that would connect into Champions. That's another great question, actually, now that I think about it, right? So, for example, for Scarlet and Violet, let's say you want to use Calyrex, right? Calyrex Shadow, right?
Yeah.
You have to go play Sword and Shield. You have to play through the game, get a Calyrex, right? And the thing is like you kind of want 2 different Calyrex. You want a minimum speed IV Calyrex so that you can like play with like a Calyrex Ice, that's minimum speed, but you also want a Calyrex that you can use with Calyrex Shadow, that has to be max speed. So you have to play through Sword and Shield, have the DLC, get a Calyrex, go back through, get another Calyrex again, right? And then if you run out of horses, that means you have to like get the horse either in Scarlet and Violet through the DLC, or then you have to like, obviously transfer over the horse so you got it in Sword and Shield, right? But it's just like a lot of steps to get these legendaries. So I can't imagine like if it's reliant on home transfers for Champions. Like let's say like I don't know, some kid, their mom's like, oh, we'll download this cool app for you to play like Pokemon, right? And it's like, oh yeah, I only have this like default like Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle they give me, like, and I need to transfer the rest through home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, and then some guy who's like played competitive for like 10 years has like, Urshifu, Cresselia, Ursaluna, like Incineroar, and they're just like playing through the game early. Like even me, right? I have a pretty deep box of Pokemon. Like I would immediately be able to transfer stuff and play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But like, how do you like manage that without it like being like exactly like pay to win, right? Like I genuinely think they have to have a system where like you can kind of like customize the Pokemon if you want, but then if you want to have like custom like marks or whatever, then you can like import the Pokemon over or something like that. I don't know. Like, if you have like I guess Wolfie's Incineroar, right? Like then you could like, at least like maybe it like looks at the data and then like copies it into the game. Like I don't know, something like that from home. Like I don't.
Yeah.
But what it's probably going to be is just a transfer. But I'm like hopeful that they'll at least like see the potential issues with having to transfer everything in at least. But you never know.
Well,
so.
Speaking of pay to win, the other thing that we've never seen with a mobile game is there's no mobile games that are free. Like it could be free to play, but like there's either ads or they're gonna charge you something to play it. So question is like where is that going to come in? Like, where's the money aspect going to come in? Like subscription based or microtransactions for something? It's got to be some transaction in there.
I'm not gonna lie. If they put microtransactions in Champions, I'd happily drop like a band on that. I'm not even gonna lie. Like if I could give my Tyranitar like a fedora and like a suit or something when it's like fighting in battle, I would absolutely do it. Like I'm not even gonna lie. Like take my money. That's like in my opinion, because those are just like visual things,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't really impact like the game or anything. But like I think like stuff like that would be hilarious, you know what I mean? Or like ways you throw your Pokeball or like, you know, like stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think that's like probably where I'd see them making the money if it was like free to play, right?
Yeah.
Like just all those cosmetic things. Because I know I would like, especially too as a content creator, like yeah, I want my funny like fedora like Tyranitar like on the field with like a suit, you know, and like some boots or whatever. Like it'd just be really funny,
Right.
you know?
Yes.
So
It'd be
Well,
great.
there's also the conversation of like, oh, like this is going to shut down Showdown, or like Showdown's going to get a cease and desist. Like, and I've talked to people at the Pokemon Company. They're very aware that Showdown is a thing. Like they're very aware that Showdown is like this glorified calculator that people run calculations, and that's how they build a team quickly. But if Champions has like even if it was like $20 to like buy Champions and like play it, there's not a single Showdown player that's going to be like, yeah, I'll spend $20 for a different, probably not as good experience, because ain't no one playing Showdown because of the visuals.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think it's always interesting, right? Because Showdown has always it's kind of like I guess it's like the black sheep of like, you know, the Pokemon VGC experience. You know what I mean? It's like you kind of like it has to exist, right? It like if it doesn't exist, right? Like I think it's really, really hard for people to like practice competitive Pokemon the same way, right? It would completely change the landscape of what practice, what resources look like, right? I mean, like the amount of data that's just like gained from Showdown existing is huge, right? So and that begs the question then, if you're going to try to like, you know, I guess make Champions the main thing that does that, right? Like what kind of resources are you providing with that? So like immediately like I would, and this is going a little bit more in depth into it, right? Like when I think about Showdown, right? And I'm looking at like the Regulation I like best of 3 ladder, right? I can open up a site that has like a giant like list of literally every single thing that's used at every single elo whatever, and I can see like all the top spreads, all the top items, like everything, right? And like that's like granted it's an extra tool that's made to function around Showdown, right? But if there's nothing like that for Champions, right, you can't expect it to be the main form of practice because players can't like actually use that off unless it's like required to play it, right? Like of course, right? But it's very hard then to like get the same thing out of it. Now, the one thing I will say that I think Champions has a lot of appeal for that I haven't seen people talk about, right? If you can customize rule sets or customize like what you're allowed. So like for example, let's say you want to play with your buddy, right? And you're like, oh, customized rule set, like only these megas are allowed, these Pokemon are allowed. You could recreate old format, right? So now you have an actual appeal to competitive people who want to replay old formats without having to go back on their DSs and having to get all the Pokemon on their DSs, which is like near impossible nowadays, right?
Yep.
And like play like games. And now you actually have a lot of ways you could showcase old formats or like old like you know like battles, stuff like that. Like I think that's kind of a cool application that people don't really talk about. That I think could be really cool. But like yeah, there's definitely a lot of layers to it for sure. I'm actually very curious because it's definitely like weird. I think there's a lot of different ways this can go. Like Champions has, that's what I kind of mean. Like it has like loads of potential, but there's like a lot of ways it can go wrong and a lot of ways it can go right, I think.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
No, I agree. I agree. Okay. Well, let's take another quick break here, and then we have some non VGC stuff, and then for our post show, we'll talk more about VGC and specifically like Joe's career and why Joe thinks Dynamax was the best format. So we will be right back. And we are back from our break. All right. Speaking of megas, they are also coming to the TCG, although we knew that, but we also don't have a lot to talk about here. We do have a lot to talk about when they say learn more on July 10th. So I guess put that in your calendar. There was
that's
it was an announcement for an
do that.
announcement.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
we also see they showed off like Mega Venusaur EX and Mega was it Latias EX?
Latias,
And,
yeah.
yeah, a few other ones. But one thing I do think is interesting is that if you knock out a Mega EX, it's 3 prize cards instead of 2.
Yeah.
Which is like what VMAX was, but not what the original Mega EX cards were.
Yes.
And
Which
people
is
hated
like,
that, didn't they? I thought people hated VMAX for that reason.
yeah. I mean, it's like VGC. You have some people that like a mechanic and some people who hate a mechanic, and
Sure.
I think everyone universally hated ADP, so that was also a thing that happened for a long time in there.
That's true.
Oh, that's like a flash in the past for me because I didn't play much TCG, but back in the day, right, there was this like this is like back when I first met Sierra, right? And like we started like talking more, like whatever. They had this TCG VGC event, and they had VGC players playing TCG or whatever. And I remember I was playing when ADP was at its peak. Like it was the best, like it was like the best deck because I was using I think Pikarom Alola Raichu or something like that.
Yeah.
I think is what I used. And yeah, and like I remember Sierra was like, okay, you have to be able to beat this deck, and she kept running like ADP versus me, and I just kept losing like immediately, and I'm like, oh wow, I was like, this deck's really good. I was like, why am I not playing this? And she's like, because it's lame. It's like okay, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. That sounds about right. That sounds like ADP. I think the initial announcement, the non-English announcement, was at the Japan Championships, where they showed the Mega Venusaur and then the Mega Latias, and then the next morning they showed this trailer, which is like, learn more on July 10th. So we'll circle back on July 10th with more about TCG, but this is our talking about the announcement for the announcement on July 10th. So I guess we'll find out more then for that. What else we have in the notes? This is more like personal. I think this is a thing that will be reoccurring. So I guess that's the news. I was invited on the first ever official Pokemon game show, which was very cool. I lost, which is very me. I'm always a bridesmaid, never a bride. I fumbled real hard at the end. I started off real strong though, but they brought on 3 people. They had a host. It was over Zoom, which I don't think is the best way. It would have been probably a million times better if everyone was in person, but I think that's like most events. But it really did seem like this is something they want to keep going with. From how they talked about it and how they presented it. So at least from the feedback I got from my own Twitch chat and like just a ton of people messaging me being like, loved it. This was super great. It's like really nice to see Pokemon do this. And I feel like they could be more, they told us that this was like very Kanto focused, not specifically Gen 1 focused, but like Kanto focused. So they could just do so many things with this, like a VGC episode, or a TCG, or like TCG, or like specifically anime, or specifically Pokemon Go. They could just do so much that isn't like general Pokemon knowledge. Because it's very hard to know everything Pokemon. Like, I didn't know that Dark Raichu was a secret rare card.
Sure.
You didn't?
I didn't know.
Come on,
I did.
Steve.
I remember opening that card as a kid and not even thinking about like secret rares or whatever.
Secret rare card. Yeah.
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 Like I also like traded like a Mewtwo for a Coughing when I was a kid. Like I thought the Coughing art was like really sick, and the Mewtwo art was like really boring.
That's why people should be trading cards anyway, though, for the love of what they like, not for
Yeah,
the
that's
value
true.
of the cards.
The value of the cards. So it was just really cool to be on that. And again, I think from behind the scenes, and I don't think I'm saying too much, I think they want to keep going with this. Like, I think this was like a real like test of, will this be received well? And at least on my end, it seemed like it was received really well. Like, had good viewership and everything on Twitch.
It was definitely fun to watch. And, they could have just done it like oh, these are just questions. These are trivia questions essentially, but like the mechanics of the game and the way they went about doing it and adding all those like extra abilities and things in there just made it a lot more fun. So it'd be cool if it
I
kept
came
going.
in. I actually came in and watched the stream for like 5 minutes because it was like on, and I was just like randomly like scrolling through Twitter, saw it. And I forgot what the question was. Oh, I remember. It was the question of what cry does Articuno make?
Oh
And
yeah.
like, and then yeah. And I remember it was Glitch got it right, I think,
Yes.
right? It
Yeah,
was
she
Glitch
did.
on stream. Yeah, Glitch was on stream, yeah. And then they asked you guys to all reenact like the Articuno like cry. I remember that. And like right, at first I was just gonna leave after I saw the answer to the question, and then the host was like, "Yo, so you guys gotta act it out." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Hold on, I'll stay like an extra like minute or two to watch this, and then I'll go." So,
I
that's
think
the only part I saw of the entire thing, but it looked fun.
I think one of the coolest questions, it wasn't really a question, but they were like, "Oh, this is a video question," and they showed like Pokemon Snap, like the original Pokemon Snap, and then it was like the beginning of the canyon area where like the Squirtle are and the Poliwag, and there's the big Doug Trio mountain, and so you're watching this clip for like 20 seconds, and like what are we looking for? Like, and the person's like taking pictures, and I was like, okay, like he took 5 pictures. Maybe the question is like, how much film did he have left? And I was like, it's gonna be 55. And the question was, how many pester balls was used during that clip? And I was like, I didn't even, I wasn't counting the pester balls. I was like looking at everything else. It was like, so that was like, it was nice that there were questions that weren't just like, what is the weight of Celesteela? And you're like, oh, I don't, like, I don't know. Like, how fast is Incineroar? The base speed, I think it's 60. Is it 60 or 65?
I think you're right on 60. I mean, I should know this for sure. I'm pretty sure it's 60 sounds right to me. 60 does sound right to me.
How many EVs would it take for Incineroar to outspeed a modest Greninja?
Impossible, actually.
It was really fun. So I don't know. They said they're gonna send me a survey for like feedback. I do have some feedback. I think some of the powers of the Pokemon were too strong. But I think if their main goal was to like be entertaining and for people to walk away with like a good experience, I think they 100% achieved that. Of like people were like, oh yeah, this was worth watching. Like this was fun. I would like to see it again. So, yeah, that was cool. If you want to see that, the VOD would be on Pokemon's channel, the Twitch VOD, and then they told me it would eventually be up on YouTube. It took place on Friday, and they're a normal company, so I don't think anyone was working on the weekend. So I would expect if you're a YouTube watcher, that would be up on YouTube later this week if you want to watch me lose, because I fumbled real hard at the end there. I started strong though. I started real strong. I got that Magnemite question really fast.
Yeah, the Magnemite one was wild. I will say the one thing I thought was, and maybe it was just because first time and like also like they did involve like Twitch chat from time to time and things like that. It was like 2 hours long.
Yeah.
Seems like they maybe like if you take like any quiz show or game show of any kind, right? Like I don't know that you're going to be able to keep people's attention for like 2 hours every time.
Yeah.
I think
that's good feedback.
To like
I thought we were going to run too short.
At 2 hours?
No, I thought it was like, what happens if this is like a 45-minute show? Because they scheduled out us to have 90 minutes.
Okay.
So they had a hard cap of 90, but I think because there was some tech issues in the middle, it went over. Because I remember at the very end when Spraggles, who was one of the contestants, was like doing some rant. I remember them all in our ears being like, wrap it up. Like, okay.
Funny. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Pokemon Go Fest is happening right now. Bobby spent way too much money. I heard Joe and Bobby were raiding together. This was you guys were pre-gaming before the podcast.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Didn't get any shinies, but that's cool though. Still got what was it? We were getting some Regielekis, so that's cool.
Regielekis. Regieleki and Regidrago just had like gotten away from me last time they were out in the wild or out in raids. So I had no intention of raiding this week at all. I was like, I went into this week with, I'm not going to raid the Reggies. It's okay. I'll get them some other way. I don't need shiny Regieleki and shiny Drago. And Tuesday morning, I realized how easy it was to go to them. Like, I didn't realize that they were taking over like every gym and then resetting every 25 minutes. So when I realized that, then I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll do a few. And I did a few. and Joe and I did some together. So, you know, Regieleki, escaped me until Friday. I finally did get a shiny one on Friday. Reggie Drago was a little bit easier, but at the end of it all, I came away with, it took 84 Regieleki to get the shiny one, and it took 50 Reggie Drago to get the shiny one. So the Galar Reggies hate me, apparently. But we got them eventually.
Damn, I thought I was going like low-key crazy, going for like 10 of these. I'm like, oh, I got 10. I was like, surely I'm gonna get like one shiny somewhere.
Yeah.
Now I'm hearing like 50, 76. It's like I had no chance, you know. It's all good.
It's like a 1 in 19 or 1 in 20 chance typically for a shiny legendary. So I thought I'd get one sooner, but you know, things happen, I guess. So
I told you to send me invites.
Yeah.
Which I haven't remoted in to a raid in forever. Like, I think the last time I remoted into something was like a Vulpix because I needed it for my collection challenge, and it was like,
oh, I remember that.
Like,
it was on the podcast, I think.
Yeah, it was on the podcast. I was like, this collection challenge ends in like 2 hours, and I need a Vulpix, and it's like the weather's really bad. I'll just remote in, which is like, I don't want to ever spend $2 for a Vulpix. That's insane. But what I think made this better was every time you remoted into like a Regieleki, it would complete a quest to then get another Reggie.
Yes,
they had that like Reggie quest line.
Yeah.
So it felt it
didn't
really feel like I was getting as scammed as I normally feel in Pogo. It felt like, okay, I'm getting a Regieleki and now I'm getting a Regirock. I'm getting a Regieleki, now I'm getting a Regice. I'm getting a Regieleki, now I'm getting a Regirock. And then that quest line reset. And that was like the first time they've ever done something like that, and it felt really good.
Yeah.
To get like 2 Reggies ultimately for the price of 1 remote raid.
I mean, it's it's still just a Reggie, but like, you know,
right.
and if you completed that research, you got a special background Reggie, which is cool. You got to choose one of them, and so
I did not complete the research. I only made it to...
Oh, you didn't finish it? You didn't do the 6? You didn't do 6 and then get like the...
I was in the final one, and then the time went over, and then it disappeared.
Got it,
yeah.
So then you get the 6, and then you get the special background, and then it would reset, and you could do that 6 times, and then it went away after 6 times of doing that research. So
I do have a VGC question for Joe. Because you talked to a lot of other VGC players. Are there VGC players that are like, oh, I don't want to buy Sword and Shield, but I got my Zamazenta. I just did it in Pogo. I just grabbed a Zamazenta from Pogo. I moved it over.
Yeah, I will say Pogo is kind of broken if you're a VGC player, like in restricted formats, because it's way easier to get things. So like, I think of it this way, right? So like, yeah, maybe I'm spending like $10 to get like a couple raid passes or like whatever, you know what I mean, to like play a couple of like online raids or whatever. But then I think about sitting down and playing through Sword and Shield like 3 times to get the same 3 Zamazentas that I just like spent like $10 for. Yeah. And honest to God, I'd pay like 20 or 30 to avoid having to play through that game like 3 more times. You know what I mean? Like it's just like way more convenient. Like it's definitely like, don't get me wrong, you definitely will have to like, if you're going for shinies, you're gonna have to pay a ton. Clearly, right? Like I can tell that. But like there are some ways you can't even get like shiny restricted Pokemon in the mainline games. It's actually only through Pogo you can do that. So for some people, it's actually really cool. Like I was able to, I remember from Milwaukee actually, I played a team with Zamazenta on it, and I was like, oh, I really want a shiny Zamazenta. I'm like, how do I get it? And I was like looking, I was like, okay, random event that like happened a while ago. And then I was like, I can't get it in the mainline game regularly. I'm like, oh, Pogo has like shiny. So I was just asking everyone, I was like, hey, do you have like a shiny Zamazenta in Pogo or whatever? You know what I mean? And it kind of made me realize, I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of broken just for like getting like cool stuff like that for sure. But yeah, like I definitely think Pogo is actually like really good, but I think it's only good for like restricted Pokemon, like the big legendaries, right? Like anything else, you could just play through a game and like get it really quickly, you know?
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
That makes sense. I didn't even think about like Yeah, Zacian and Zamazenta shiny was only like a GameStop code thing or something,
Right,
right?
yeah.
It wasn't
Yep.
never available in game.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and also
Yeah.
like
If you want it
Enamorus.
in Scarlet Violet, yeah.
Enamorus isn't good, I don't think,
Yeah.
competitively. But
It was like okay for a second, but it's bad.
yeah, but your option to get Enamorus was buy Legends Arceus, play through the entire game, and you can get
Mhm.
one. Or when Enamorus was in Pogo, you could get like 20 in a day, and was
Yeah.
faster and cheaper than playing through Legends Arceus.
well, yeah, and it came out on Valentine's Day, so everyone was mad because it was like a Wednesday, and everyone's like, "I have work, I can't raid," but Enamorus is out.
But Regieleki is another one. Well, Regieleki used to be good, but like playing through all the DLC, like all of Sword and Shield and the DLC to get one Regieleki, and there's the only other way to get Eleki. Eleki's not in Scarlet and Violet.
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, yeah, you have to get through Sword Shield. And bonus on that as well, because I think this is pretty funny. In the DLC, if I'm not mistaken, you can only pick one or the other.
Mhm.
Right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can. Yep.
So if you want a Drago and an Aleki, you have to replay the DLC twice
Yep.
Yeah.
to even do that.
Exactly. That's
It's kind
so
of
true.
ridiculous. Yep.
It's terrible.
Calyrex gonna go hard when it comes to Pogo.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, look, as soon as look, if I find out there's like a couple Pokemon that if I found out they were coming to Pogo, like I would do that for. Calyrex is definitely one of them, or like Spectre or Glastrier is like like I will be there. I'll have so many Calyrexes, like I'll have like 10 boxes full of them. You know what I mean?
Well,
So.
if anybody needs an Eleki and doesn't want to play through Sword and Shield, I have 84 of them. So come
Perfect.
talk to me.
Great. I have, I think, 123 Necrozma. If anyone,
That's
needs
right. You
a
did do all the
Necrozma.
Necrozma raids.
Okay, last topic before we wrap up the show and move to our bonus segment. Golden Bottle Cap. It was $15 to play if you wanted Volcanion this weekend, and to increase your shiny boost and to get your half egg distance and to get your bonus lucky trades and or reduced trades or whatnot. That's like whatever for a whole weekend, 16 hours, 8 free raid passes each day, $15. Get a Volcanion, and then they introduced another battle pass for just the weekend. When we already have a battle pass, the monthly battle pass.
Well, it was for the whole week. It was for the whole week.
Oh, yeah, for the whole week. Sorry, for the whole week.
You could start at the week. Yeah.
So this game, we have 2 battle passes running at once. They wanted $15 for the weekend. And not only that, they wanted $20 for this battle pass. And at the very end, you got 1 golden bottle cap. Joe, would you pay $20 for a golden bottle cap in Champions?
Okay, so I think of it like in other video games, like have I paid for like a battle pass or like a weekend pass or whatever, and I've like mental warfared myself into like doing these things saying, oh, it'll be worth it for sure. So to be honest, I'm probably the wrong person to ask this question, because I feel like once it has like the words Pokemon on it, and it's like something I'm like remotely interested in, like they would definitely get my money. Like I'm not even gonna hold you. Like it's kind of cool. Like if it's battling, it's VGC, and it's like also like like Pokemon. I'm like well like I guess I gotta like even Pocket got me with the premium. It's like opening 4 packs a day. Like the serotonin of just like swiping open the packs. Like I was like, oh okay, like I was like you got me. You know what I mean?
I'm glad the battle pass was easy, but I do think asking a player to like who maybe only buys these like big event tickets, I feel like I'm a hardcore player, but I'm not remoting in every week. Like the Reggie Eleki was just like, I want to help Bobby. These are really easy. I'm getting 2 for 1. $35 for a weekend. Not to mention that once that's a minimum $20 for the battle pass, $15 for the ticket. You want my entire weekend to play. But that's not even including Incense, Star Piece, Lucky Egg, more remote raid passes or raid passes. Like Scopely bought Scopely bought a money making machine. Like they kind of figured it out.
Yeah. I will say the one thing that bothered me about the way that they did the Zamazenta and Zacian stuff this weekend was that your ticket only got you like one. Only got you energy for one of them. So, if you got energy for Zacian, so you could turn it into like the crowned Zacian, you still had to go do Zamazenta raids, which would be fine, except that if you don't have Zamazenta raids to do, you're now paying even more money to remote into ones that you aren't around you, So it's like, I feel like for the amount, they could have just given you at least like a Zacian and a Zamazenta. Like or like a way to get both of those without having to like fully raid for one of them and they were only giving you like 90 to 100 energy for a raid. So it's like they could have either bumped up how much energy you were getting per raid or done something so that you weren't having to do essentially like 10 raids in order to, and it was only one day available. So it's like if you wanted Zamazenta, you had to raid all day. You had to get 10 Zamazenta raids in yesterday. Or maybe like 8 if you got the bonus stuff that they were giving out. So you had to do like 8 Zamazenta raids yesterday, which again, they gave away the premium passes. I get that. And that's great. Like 9 free passes for the day. That's great. But Zamazenta is not like a 1 or 2 person raid. It was like at least a 4-person raid, unless you were all like level 50. So that's a lot of, that's getting at least 4 people. And if you're not in a place where you are going to be getting 4 to 6 or 8 people, you're going to be remote raiding, and it's just a lot of remote raids to do to get that energy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. As someone who is in New York City, like that's like the one nice thing about being here is like so like if you're like not in New York City, but like I'm very in vicinity. If I really wanted to, and I wasn't lazy about the Zama rates, I definitely could have just like hopped on the train, gone to the city, and like stuff would have filled up really quick. But like I could definitely see how that could be like a big problem if you're like obviously you're paying for something expecting to be able to do something, right? And then it's like if you don't have enough people around you or like enough friends, like and it's just like really difficult, right? Like so that's definitely something that can present issues.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, but I don't know. But the golden bottle cap thing, it's a lot of money. $20 is a lot, but
I know the argument is you're getting a whole bunch of stuff before you get to the golden bottle cap. Yeah, I get it.
Reward there. Did you pay for it? Did you buy the golden bottle cap?
Sure. Full disclosure, Niantic did gift me the Volcanion ticket, the $15 Volcanion ticket that was gifted.
Oh, same.
Full disclosure.
Same.
I did buy the golden bottle cap ticket myself. I did spend the $20 myself. What I'm going to here's my problem with the golden bottle cap. Same problem with Lucky Trinket. I paid $20 for this golden bottle cap, and you're telling me I have 8 days to decide what Pokemon to use it on?
Yeah.
Like I spent $20. Yeah. Well, I spent $20 on a bunch of items, but to be like you have 8 days to decide is kind of stressful. Yeah. Because now I really have to think about it.
I'm going to use mine on my Armored Mewtwo. So
that's good.
I think that's where I'm going to put that.
But like I have a lot of Pokemon that are like 12, 15, 15. That would be a waste for a golden bottle cap. Because a golden bottle cap is everything.
My thought as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just wait for a regular bottle cap, assuming that would come.
I'm surprised they didn't do that first. I would have thought they would have done a regular bottle cap first so that you could just improve one stat. Because I have a ton of Pokemon as well that are like 98%, 96%, where it's 15, 15, 13, 15, 15, 14.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're don't use a golden bottle cap on those. But
if it was like something like 14, 14, 14, I don't think it's worth a golden bottle cap.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Unless you're really trying to like.
Unless you really like that Pokemon, right? Unless that's your like favorite all time Pokemon and you just want it to be perfect. I don't know. I have like a lucky shiny background 12 12 12 Kyurem, and I might use it on that. I don't know. It's a weird decision because I'm applying money to a specific Pokemon, and then that also makes me come back to how is Champions going to monetize things? Like if Champions or if like Gen 10 introduced like a what's it called? Like a rusty bottle cap. I think that's like the one thing VGC players want. So they don't have to spend 4 hours resetting a Calyrex for 0 IV. Like I would
VGC players would pay for that.
Yeah, I would too. I would you're giving me 4 hours back. I got to spend like $5 on like a bottle cap so I don't have to reset this over and over. I'm in. Yeah. I'm instantly in. Or okay, this is my dream because I know I'm never going to win a Worlds. and this will be my last point before we take our before we go to our bonus segment for Patreon listeners. My dream is not to win Worlds because I will never do that. My dream is for Joe to be like, hey, Steve, do you have this Pokemon? And for me to give Joe that Pokemon to use for Worlds, and then Joe wins with that Pokemon. I'll be like, that was my Incineroar that I traded Joe.
Like living through it.
Yeah.
Through Pokemon.
Like, that's my Incineroar on stage. So Joe, just let me know what Pokemon you need this year. I got you.
Yeah.
Anyways, we are going to wrap up the show. If you're on the premium Apple Podcast feed or you're a Patreon member, it's actually going to be free this week. Where Joe is going to be our free guest for the week. So you don't need to even give money if you want to hear the bonus segment. Just patreon.com/PKMNcast. The post show this week will be free because we don't want to gatekeep Joe. But just going to pick Joe's brain for 15-20 minutes about this World Championship coming up. And then if you do pay, we'll actually give you what Joe's full team is. So you can count. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. EVs, everything, Yeah.
EVs, everything. The
game plans too, just in case you need to beat me too at Worlds. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, Joe. If they don't make it to the post show, where can people find you? Because you also do you stream. You're on Twitter. I think you still do coaching. You do a lot.
Yeah. I still do coaching. Yeah. Coaching is probably like my main thing, but I've been getting back into YouTube recently. I've actually been posting a decent bit. So yeah, I JoeUX9 on basically everything. So JoeUX9 on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter as well, or X, whatever you call it. And as well too, if you want Pokemon coaching from the #1 Pokemon player in the USA, I mean x9academy.com.
That's actually true. You are the #1 player right now.
Yeah.
Like
point wise, right?
It's a good
buried the lead on that to
point wise, yeah.
Like should have started the episode with that.
The reason we didn't have Wolfie on is because I've beaten Wolfie before. I've never beat Joe. That makes Joe.
I see.
Yeah, I've never been able to beat Joe. That's why he's the #1 player. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Bobby. If you're on the premium feed, just stick around after the credits. There'll be a bonus segment. If you're not on the premium feed, patreon.com/PKMNcast. Bonus segment will be free for everyone this week. So thank you for listening. We will see you guys next week. This has been another episode of the Pokemon Podcast, and we are
super effective.
It actually was really good. Like I definitely think if I beat my opponent that I played in Top Cut again, I had a really good bracket for like Wo Chen, actually, funny enough. It was like a really good mon into a lot of the bracket. But, it's like in Cut, you're usually playing versus like, sometimes you can pull like hard matchups, like hard opponents, right? Like there's stuff there. There's a lot of